So, zdravo mladi, hello everybody, welcome to our panel. It's called Hit the Road Login, or how to boost the talent, European talent in troubled times. We're going to discuss the situation, we're going to discuss the troubles, we're going to discuss the solutions. Situation being place, time, circumstances in which we are now. The first year after 2 years of basically what we do being blocked from functioning almost entirely. So how has been this first year of back to action? Then we're gonna look into what is now, what has rest as probably problems, troubles from the two pandemic years. And of course, we're going to see with all the troubles still around rising as costs of almost everything, how is this influencing what we do, what we're going to do, how we're going to do it. And we're going to move to trying to search, debate the possible solutions from the perspective of the artists, representatives, so people who work around with for artists, and maybe especially from the perspective of venues, because this panel has been powered by Liveurope also. So we're going to see also a short presentation of the Liveurope platform of venues, European venues, of their situation, results and so on of this year. And that's about it. My surname is Manček. I come from Ljubljana, where I run music program of a venue called Kino Šiška. And I have my dear panelists here with whom I made a deal that I present themselves, so to spare them a little bit. So we start with Elise. Elise, she's a general coordinator of the Liveurope platform, and she's going to give you also the introduction of what Liveurope is and the results of this year. Inês, she's a booker of one of the Liveurope venues, which is Music Box from Lisbon. We have Hugo, working with Omnicord, a label, agency, and much more. So he's going to do the talk, his experience from this point. And we have Dina, whom I'm sure most of you know, especially local ones. So one of the most interesting, talented musicians and active musicians in the region lately. And I would like to start, actually open this conversation with you, Dina. So let's see how this year has been for you. I mean, we've seen you very active in the region. We've seen you also on the stage of Kino Šiška in the summer. You were playing in Zagreb, in Budapest, all around the region, getting award, also one of the most kind of like important awards in the region. Mila Mladenovic Award in Belgrade just recently. So let's see how this year has been for you and your experience.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you for the kind words. It means a lot. And first I wanted to say, because it was my first time last year to play at a showcase festival. I played here, and it's so nice, and I'm so thankful to be here speaking on this panel after a year. Like, I guess I have something to say from this. I've gained some experience this year, and like as this panel says, I've had the chance to hit the road a lot this year, and I played outside of Macedonia for the first time, and I visited many places for the first time, and some of the places that I visited and played at, like Kino Šiška, the A38 ship, Močvara, they were with the support of Liveurope. So I would say that I'm very thankful and very happy that I got the chance to present my music, which is in Macedonian, in the countries around the Balkans. And I see that as planting seeds everywhere I go. So I want to continue doing that and like keep watering the seeds and like spreading my music everywhere I can. And hopefully, like, because I have like a shorter version of because I have my full band and I also have like a shorter version with 2 or 3 people. So my main goal is to be able to bring the whole band and like to hit the road with my full band.
That's great, thank you. Additional questions, so it's like you were kind of starting your career in this pandemic times in a way. So it's like how you were experienced, like basically you don't have probably not much experience of how it was before, and then this break happened in which obviously you were very creative and preparing everything that you are sharing with us on stages now.
Yes, it's I tried to use the most of it, like being home. That's why my first EP that I released, it's called Doma, which is translated home, and I just used all the time I had to create music. And I don't know how it was before to tour. And I mean, I had the chance to tour with Vasko Atanasovski, with 21. Vek. Like, they have a lot of experience doing this all of their entire lives. So it was like a masterclass for me to learn and to see how it, from them, to see how it was before and how it is now. And of course, it's pretty tough because like everything is so expensive, and like especially for new artists like me that are not known and don't have much experience touring, it's hard to break through but this year has shown me that it is possible, and if I continue like working on myself and pushing myself, and I also have people from here that support me and that push me to do that, and I'm very thankful for that. So that's my plan to continue doing that.
So the crisis, the problems are not stopping you?
Yes.
Yeah. Thank you, Dina. We're moving now to Hugo, who is maybe a less artist, but much more a music label, doing a music export office, so promoting the Portuguese bands outside of the country. We were talking before, it's like you are taking care of great up-and-coming acts. We hosted at Ment, we hosted one of your great acts, Surma. You were making contracts with them before pandemic hit. So a little bit how this, so from your side, how this year is looking, how difficult it was, or how maybe also kind of a revelation it was up until now.
First of all, thank you so much for the invitation of the panel, for this discussion, and for the magnificent event, which I'm here for the first time, and I'm already feeling in family. So it's amazing to meet this place and these people. But I was looking at the name of the talk, and hit the road. I always remember, well, let's talk Ray Ray Charles. He couldn't see, but he needed to anticipate a lot of stuff. How could he manage to reach that point? I'm the boring guy. I don't play nothing, I don't sing. I only stay on the PC sending emails, trying to create a strategy, trying to anticipate the risks. So that work needs to be redone, and looking at a B, a C, a D plan on these times. Because when we started like 8 years ago, 10 years ago maximum, we knew how to do things. With the pandemic, we noticed that the bands needed to close their activity almost, only online stuff. So they needed to go for other tools. Because we hire the people, we give them contracts, so we need to maintain the structure. So they were more focused on filmmaking, on composing to theater, to cinema, and with these actions they got some different tools that now are helping us to create an ecosystem. We can create our own videos, we can connect to the cinema community, we can even try to fill other paths to reach away. And this is the main thing that right now we need to do a new beginning, but be more prepared than we used to.
But more concretely, like more interesting in this year, like in comparison of the two completely like inactive, I mean, at least from the point of view, the normal past. So how does this year after opening, how does it feel? Like, how was your business and the activity of your artists? How would you estimate to this point?
Nationally went very well because everything opened. In an international level, we faced that old partnerships, some of them have downsized. Some of the companies that had 10 agents, now they have one. They only pick the bigger acts, so we've run out. So the venues, they need to reschedule a lot of stuff. So there are a lot of issues to hit the road in an international way. So we need to be more strategic, we need to be patient, and we cannot make any mistake right now. It's like waiting for the next year to come. Go again to the showcase festivals, reestablish the partnerships. So it's like a new beginning, but you need to be well prepared, and we're very looking forward. The next year may be tough because people will have less money to spend on tickets, but the costs increased about 25% on touring. But we need to be patient, and if we believe that we are constructing something, because music is whatever, it's what we're talking about. If the music is good, if the artist and the show is good, we need to be patient, and step by step we will recover it.
Thank you, Hugo. We're going to be talking more about the problems that we are or will be probably facing. Just briefly, in Kino Šiška, we've seen a very very active first half of year, and then it's like, yes, it's after the summer it's been more varied, more kind of like a breaking. So I'm very much interested. How did you experience this year after opening?
Hi everyone, thank you very much for the invitation to be a part of this panel. For those who don't know, Music Box is a grassroots music venue in Lisbon that works both as a concert venue and as a club. So we open at 10 p.m. with live shows and then continue throughout the night until 6 a.m. with DJ sets and clubbing sessions. Reopening went really well for us. So our results for the first half of the year were better than 2019, and although the summer was more stable and the overall outcome was more similar to the results that we experienced in the previous years, it is still yet 2021 will turn out to be a better year than 2019, which, well, we can deep this conversation later, but it's a trend that we can see happening in Lisbon and Porto, that are cities that benefit from a tourist circuit, and so they have a lot of people coming and going to the venues as well, besides the locals. But it's something that it doesn't translate into venues from the interior of the country as well. So we can discuss this later. But in Lisbon and with Music Box, it has been a really, really good year for us.
So 22 being even better than 2019.
Yeah, exactly,
so
2022, yeah, exactly.
Okay.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. That's interesting. Thank you, Inês. We're finally moving to Elise. So from the perspective of one or two venues, like, we are now very interesting to see and hear your presentation of kind of like more broader overall situation with the venues which are involved in the Liveurope platform. You are able to have the data from, what is it now, 20 plus venues around Europe. So please, the word is yours, and thank you.
Thank you, Matjaž. And I think indeed the data we're going to show you is really a way to materialize some of the information and some of the elements that were discussed by the other panelists. So I think we have slides like this. Is it? That's the moment when the slides don't work. Wait.
Okay, something's happening.
Ah, there you go. Okay, so just to start off very quickly, well, Matjaž already presented what Liveurope is about. Wait, still, yeah. Well, yeah, indeed, we started off as a platform of 13 venues back in 2014, and indeed, as Matjaž mentions, we are proud to have really grown the network, and now we're 22 music venues that are in the platform, from indeed Music Box that is represented by Inês, to Mokoce, where we are right now. So you can see we're really all over, and what's quite interesting to see is that it's really iconic venues in their own territories. How it works? Well, our whole role is really about us from the Liveurope coordination unit. Thanks to funding from Creative Europe, we can really support all of our venues into booking a greater number of emerging European artists. So it's a very simple funding mechanism. The idea is that the more emerging European artists from outside of their own country our members book, the more funding they receive, and it's really a way to act both as an incentive and a safety net for our venues to be able to take more risks when it comes to presenting those new talent that are not necessarily known by their audiences, but really have a potential to grow bigger in the longer term. So if you look at the results, and that's where it gets more interesting in relation to the topic that we're talking about today, we see that the impact of the funding we received from the EU has had a massive consequences and positive effects on the number of concerts that the different Liveurope venues have been able to organize. And so year 8, which is 2022, is the 8th year in which we operate. We see that we've finally reached quite a milestone by organizing, having supported 3,500 concerts since the start of the initiative. And that's really when it gets more interesting. If you really look at 2022 in comparison to other years, I think we can get to the next slides. So in 2022, we see that we can move again. Yeah. So in 2022. And if you compare it from before Liveurope to now, we see that the bonuses that we've been giving to our members, the support, have really helped them to book a greater number of emerging artists. So if you look on average per venue, our members were booking rather like 22 concerts with emerging artists. Now in 2022, it's the average turns more to 31, and this represents a 41% increase in the number of emerging European artists that our members have been able to book. So you really see that this incentive effect still works after COVID. However, and I think we'll see it on the next slide. Yes. So, yeah, as you can see here, our members have been able to book quite a good number of emerging European artists. But if you compare it to pre-COVID, which is year 2018, 2019, you see that it was still not up to the numbers that we used to do before with Liveurope. So we really see here that the funding that we get from the EU still has a still has a positive consequence on the members. They get encouraged to book more emerging European artists, but because the live music scene was in a weird moment post-COVID, the programs were saturated. There wasn't as many spots for new European artists on the venues programs. So you see that, in terms of the impact on the boosting of the newcomers on the scene, it's still a bit complicated after COVID for our venues. At least that's what we see from the figures. We can go to the next slide, please. Yeah, that's it. So that's really, well, I think we'll be able to discuss it in the longer term. So to conclude, resumption, the scene is resuming. We see also on the national level, as you mentioned, it's really booming. For some venues, it's been the best years ever, but to boost new European talent, it's still complicated. We're getting there slowly and slowly.
Okay, thank you, Elise. So you still maybe just a sub question. So it's like you're having all this communication with this bunch of venues about situations. So you have a more kind of like concrete overlook of the atmosphere, the feeling. What is it that you think, like, what is the kind of prevailing atmosphere? Looking also from this point, also we have a kind of optimistic return, and how you estimate this atmosphere now, looking on in the what's coming, and how the venues are prepared and able to go on and with this mission supporting the talents.
It's a very interesting question, because for some venues, especially right now, you see the comment that we get, and we have quite a few venues of Liveurope in the room. They really tell us, well, our ticket sales have never been better, and this allows them to really maybe have, for the future, especially looking on 2023 onwards, to have good perspective. However, it's also with the current energy crisis, we see that the costs for venues are really increasing. So it's a bit of an interrogation point right now. We see a bit of uncertainty, because sales are good, but the future is still very uncertain. And when it comes to booking new European talent, it's really, to be able to book new European talent, it's again, I mentioned it earlier, but it's about taking risks, right? And taking risks comes with financial costs. So I think it's overall very optimistic, but still a bit cautious. And I think to be able to take risks, you need to have a bit of certainty. That's what we try to bring with Liveurope. But of course, there's also other other criteria and factors that come into place.
Thank you, Elise. Inês, maybe more if we try to break down a situation from a certain venue's perspective. So it's like, how would you estimate the COVID years? Did they leave some negative effect on the functioning of the venue in terms of, maybe a staff, it's like problems with, technical stuff going away or something? This is what we've seen happening a lot, requalifying to other to other areas of interest. The ticket sales, we have experienced much more hesitancies in terms of pre-sale and so on. How do you see now this? So it's like still kind of like the previous crisis, still affecting what we are dealing with now.
So we also experienced this phenomenon of technical staff leaving the sector, to find more stable jobs, and so we are in a moment of requalifying and finding new people and training new people in terms of staff bar and technical sound people and stuff. But it's something that it's recovering. Like it's not a big challenge right now. It was a phenomenon that it's being handled. In terms of ticket sales, we haven't experienced any problems with fears of audiences nor anything. As we said, we operate on 2 different levels. So in terms of concert sales, our results are getting closer to 2019 results. And in the clubbing, it's already, we have sold more tickets than in 2019. So it's actually really positive, the outcomes of the audiences gaming. We have more people coming to our shows. And yeah, I think that overall that's it. We are experiencing this, the energy bills are getting higher and higher.
How are you dealing with this? So it's like, how are you able to make kind of a projections of how this will, you know, where this will go in a matter of months too. So it's like the winter just started. So it's like this, you know, the costs obviously are going to rise because of the expenditure of costs and so on. Are you trying to figure out like what are the strategies that you are taking in order to have a clearer picture? It's very hard. I mean, from our also experience, like it's very hard to understand what is ahead.
How does that reflect in booking specifically,
yes,
or overall?
Also.
Yeah. Well, we are all, walking and threading lightly over this and trying to not to do some cost saving and everything, but we haven't stopped investing in artists, and we haven't downsized on that matter whatsoever. Luckily, we haven't had to put our ticket prices to raise our ticket prices or whatsoever. So it's a management issue. So we are trying to do like a cost-saving plan, of course. But keeping the mission of Music Box at the core and try to do everything the same way we always did.
Okay, so up until now it doesn't influence the program, and you're working on things that it will stay that way, obviously.
Yeah, just like not save a lot of money and everything and be careful, but we are doing big changes in our approach to programming whatsoever.
Thank you. Hugo, how is it from your perspective? So you are working with artists, booking them to venues in Portugal, outside of Portugal. Do you see it more difficult now? It's like, do you experience more hesitancy from the promoter's side?
Yeah, a little bit, because most of the venues are rescheduling stuff, are delaying dates. And we need to take in mind that it's a new reality right now, but it's the reality that it is. And we need to play with it. And probably we need to be more proactive, not only with the venues, but with other sectors in the targets that we have. We realize that, for example, doing a tour or doing an outside show, it's always a chain of interactions. It's hard, probably, and God bless platforms like Liveurope, because we have several venues open to be founded and give new acts to people. But most of the times when we're scheduling a tour right now, okay, we're going to put 4 dates in Germany. These are our targets. Can we contact the consulate over there? Can we contact our community of people from our country over there? Can we do something that can help to support the tour, like mini actions in schools, in communities, whatever? Can we translate these to the venues and saying, look, I'm already working on a field. I'm already thinking in doing this. This will send to the venue and the promoters our strong commitment in doing this, and will give them an insight of, okay, probably they will have more audience than I was expected. And I really think that we need to do a new mindset in some ways of thinking not only I need to go, but where, what can I do so that new market is already expecting and accepting us. So it's this new way of thinking that I believe it's more the new normal, mainly to new acts and small structures. Because if you have a partnership with a good or a major agency, there's a different completely story.
Dina, are you taking notes?
Yeah, I'm trying to process everything. A lot of new words for me.
But seriously, I mean, your career is basically just starting, and you have, I mean, you're doing a lot of work around organizing what you do yourself, but you have also people around you working as a booker.
Yes, we're trying to like take the maximum of what we can, and like I'm trying to go wherever I can to present my music. And like while I was listening to all of this, I was thinking of all the artists that I met everywhere that I went, and everywhere is the same struggle. Like everyone has the same problems, and we need you and you need us. And I think that like it's best if we collaborate, and like if artists are willing to go outside of their borders, like to outside of their limits, and to like to go everywhere they can, take every chance they can. And I know a lot of artists that, I mean, most of them work a day job in order to survive, and it, like even you have to have a side hustle, and then like you can't live out of music, at least here. And but I see that if you push yourself and you try your best and like meet the most people that you can and make contacts and play everywhere you can, and that will bring you a lot of things. That was my experience this year, and I see that there is hope.
There's definitely hope, especially in the young artist. But seeing all this like costs rising, so are you thinking about this possible challenges, problems when you are discussing with your team where what you're going to do next year, where are you going to play, how are you going to do it? Is this like on your mind also? How are you seeing this? Is it affecting your planning at all at this point, or you are just now pretty much not affected by what's going on?
Well, it's like, you know, it's like things come in waves, and I'm just like going on the flow, you know. So yeah, it's everything is changing all the time, and sometimes like I don't know some dates where I will perform like a lot of you know, it's sometimes it's very fast, things are coming very fast, and it's I can't, it's everything is changing, and I think it everywhere, not just in the music. So I don't know, you just have to have will to do everything.
Definitely. Yeah, I was talking quite a lot these days also with our colleagues, with promoters, venue promoters and so on. And I must say, I have noticed, like with majority of them, this feeling that it's gonna be most probably tougher to for up-and-coming emergent artists to stay in the program of the venues. That this is already happening partly because especially the audience is more and more selecting where it's going to go. So also we are experiencing, so the shows that have consistent, devoted following already, they build, or the audiences already are selling well, while, you know, good but not known, smaller acts, concerts, are just more and more times they're just like left behind, so it's like below the horizon. So, and I got the feeling that this is quite an issue. I don't know, maybe we have somebody else from our colleagues from Liveurope or other venues or promoters around and would like to join discussion about how they feel about this. We had also some discussion on our internal mailing list recently, so there was some also, Volker, yeah, can we get a mic? Can we get a mic for the audience? Thank you. Volker, yeah. So a colleague from Festival venue in Dortmund, and yes, you were writing on my mailing list right about this issue. So please.
Yeah. Hello. My name is Volker May. I'm in the business since 1972. I founded my first company in 1982, and currently I'm the managing director of a venue which is based in Dortmund. It's called FZW, and we have different capacities of 1,300 in the main hall up to 250 in the bar and 300 in the club. So, first of all, I think what definitely is necessary to know is that for the very first time, we experienced how fragile our ecosystem is due to COVID. COVID definitely has a very hard impact on our business, and we were not just allowed to do what we wanted to do. So our job was banned. And that, of course, has had a lot of impact and on the development, on the staff, and as it was said for several times, so everybody from us who is running a venue is now trying to find new people for the bar, new technicians, and new security staff, and so on and so on. And I'm a little bit afraid if you're taking a closer look on how the business works. I do not expect a huge impact on the emerging artists, because, to be honest, we do not have had huge sales for shows which we promoted with emerging artists. That average, there always has been a number of, let me say, between 50 and 100 people, if it was okay. Sometimes a little bit more, sometimes a little bit less. But even if you could try to convince the audience that you are doing a good job and you are promoting emerging talents which should go up to the next level, and there is a problem that the next level is falling apart. And I'm talking about acts who normally sold tickets between 500 and 600 capacity sold out, and this doesn't work anymore at the moment. So because the people either decide, I spend it for top acts, I go to festivals, but for those acts who are on the rise to the next level, to the high level, I just fucking don't care. So that is what I experienced, and so I'm a little bit afraid of if we will not support the emerging artists, and if we will not support upcoming artists, that the whole ecosystem, I wouldn't say is close to a collapse, but is definitely in danger. And what happens in the arenas at the moment? So who is selling out arena shows? It is old people, it is old material. And so what is coming next? And to support especially the upcoming next superstars, it is very difficult at the moment, because time is running fast. If an artist was successful for 1 year or in 2020, in 2022, most of them give a shit on it. You know, it doesn't work anymore. So the duration of the career is going down on one hand. And that is also something which is, makes me a little bit nervous and concerns me most. And I'm also a little bit afraid of that we are getting once again dominated by the Anglo-American material, because it is pushed and financed with huge capital from the US and from the UK. And if the European talent cannot join forces and work together and especially also convincing the European Union to support the music sector much more faster than they have done it so far, then we are close to a collapse.
Thank you, Volker. Does anybody else from the audience has something else to say over there?
Hi, I just have a question.
Please present for yourself.
Hi, my name is Sonia. I come from Belgrade. I would like to propose a question on the side of a venue. I used to manage a venue that has a career of 20 years, and it was shut down due to COVID.
Which venue?
It's Bitev, Soul Society. So it's like a legendary venue now. They just have like this commercial, bigger venue that accommodates lots of programs.
It shut down due to COVID situation.
In 2019 and 2020, we didn't have policy around the entire hospitality sector even, and we were actually trying to find another way how we can empower the mission of the venue, because it's also within this very old church that has importance in terms of cultural heritage, but we tried many different ways, but it didn't turn out. Anyhow, aside from this sad story, I just have a question. I feel there's a lot of capital falling into live music, and as we already concluded, it's like we have witnessed how fragile is the most potent revenue stream in the music industry, being the live music. And I'm happy to see things coming back. But also I feel that everyone needs to rise up their game in terms of technical capacities of venues. Because I feel everyone is so human in terms of opportunities. They kind of want to lower their standards, which I also feel can threaten the entire requirement that artists need to have in order to do their job well. So my question would be probably for Elise, does Liveurope have any criteria in place when they want to support a venue in terms of, do they have technical capacity and the standards that will ensure that the artists will get, at the end of the day, their stage plot and their input list respected? And I feel, we are really suffering even before COVID, and then now I feel it's worse in some terms. So I'm kind of curious whether Liveurope has the criteria, but then on the other hand, do they ensure that maybe some funds can be used to leverage the technical side of venues in order to accommodate artists better? Thank you.
Thank you. That's actually a very, very interesting question, because Liveurope was first created precisely to really boost those new European artists and help their circulation across Europe. And to do that, of course, you need good conditions for the artists. The idea is not to promote the circulation of artists in bars, it's to promote the circulation of artists in good conditions so they can really develop their career. So that's actually one of the important criteria of Liveurope. Liveurope is a platform, but it's also a European quality label. That's also part of, that's part of the funding that we get, is also to create a European quality label that's dedicated to venues that are committed to European diversity. It's really the label. All the venues that are part of Liveurope have this label. But with this label, with this commitment to the European diversity, also comes a list of criteria to make sure that we have some of the best venues in Europe gathered in Liveurope. So really, the idea is that there are venues that are iconic, in their respective audiences, but also on a European level. That's one that's very important. Of course, the infrastructure, to have professional infrastructures, and that we haven't defined, let's say, a list or a standard, because it's really difficult to do, and also because there's so many different standards in Europe. One of the things that we see at EU level is how fragmented the live music sector is. I mean, it's really one of the major challenges we see. I think, you know, it was you, Dina, that was mentioning how you were meeting with different artists, and you were saying that at the end of the day, you have the same challenges, and that's maybe one of the things that is really striking. Is I mean, there's very different let's say different challenges that are linked to a region, but there's also you know, common challenges, and that is typically struggling with like the consequences of COVID, how like I think a lot of music venues really take to heart this mission of New European talents. Well, I'm getting a bit off track, but anyways, the idea of, yes, so iconic venues, good infrastructure, commitment to book new European artists, those are part of the criteria that are part of yeah, what makes a Live Europe venue. And of course, that's also one big thing that eventually we would love to grow and integrate this bigger community of venues. Typically, Mokotse, where we are now, it's one of the newest venues that joined Live Europe. And it's really great to be also able to expand this this network in that sense, because of course, I mean, we brought all the Live Europe members venue here, and I think we really see how, like, you know, the common challenges we see, but also, yeah, how different it is also from a geographical context, and that's also one of the true added values that we see.
At least maybe just to add in this context, maybe you should also mention the slow mobility tool, which we introduced, and it kind of like makes also non-member venues and touring artists benefit from this financial support.
Definitely, that's a good point. It's something that we introduced already. Well, that we introduced in 2022, because yeah, we can. The amount of funding we have from the EU is quite limited, and well, you know, you see from the figures that Live Europe works to some extent, but yeah, if we want to have more venues, we need to have a lot more funding. On average, yeah, like that, like having a Live Europe member is can cost 35,000 euros. So you know, we need to get that funding somewhere. So it's not possible, for example, to have more than one venue per European country at this moment in Live Europe. However, with the slow mobility tool that we've introduced, we've given the opportunity for our venues to work with other venues in the same regional area as them, so that typically when they book emerging European artists, let's say Matjaž, you book emerging European artists in Šiška, let's say you book Dina at Kino Šiška, then you can also collaborate with another venue in the area, so that Dina can get an opportunity to play in another venue else than a Live Europe venue. So it's true that yeah, there's also that opportunity that can be looked into for the venues that are interested to hear more and to benefit from the Live Europe support.
Thank you. We have another question or opinion to share. Robert with us. Can we have a sound for the mic?
Thanks. Yeah, so Robert Singerman, thanks. I'm working with a couple of different EU projects, and I'm a recovering agent and manager, so I've worked in the live field for a long time as well. But you talked about fragmentation and diversity, and Hugo talked about basically finding the diaspora in different countries of people who probably speak Portuguese, as well as you know, understand who the emerging artists are that you're touring. You also spoke about the difficulties and, you know, 31 shows and, you know, how it helps the venues, $35,000 or whatever the support is. But we have a project in Belém that talks about really kind of overcoming a lot of those difficulties in terms of language. So the diversity in Europe is really based in language as well as everything else. You know, seeing the groups upstairs last night and downstairs last night, and not really being able to understand any of them, because, I mean, whether or not you could even hear the lyrics if you spoke the language is another story. That's a whole technical story, and sound person and what the artist wants and all the rest of it. But you know, in the Live Europe sector, in terms of slow mobility, you know, or working with all the different venues, is there anything that speaks to the language of the emerging artists in Europe, or are you just trying to support everybody singing in English, the de facto export music language, or is there any kind of solution? Because I'm sure that most of the venues that support, that Live Europe supports, probably have screens like this or some way of actually allowing the audience to understand Portuguese in their language, whether it's German or French or different countries. Is that something that we could work together on with our project, which is to give music subtitles? I talked about it a little bit yesterday, and the Live Europe project, because I think in a way for emerging artists in the EU, the most important thing is actually not only hitting the road jack, but also being able to have a sustainable career, to quit their day jobs, and to be able to actually, you know, play to a bigger audience through their songwriting and the understanding of the audience. So it's a big question, but, and you know, I just wonder, like, you know, how the European venues could work together in a better way to actually really bring value to the local people in whatever language they speak, if they don't understand Portuguese. You know, I know people who studied Portuguese because they loved fado music, you know, but having a translation on a screen, which our project can do, could probably help your project and help artists. I don't know, Dina, maybe you sing in English, so it doesn't really matter, but...
No, in Macedonian.
Okay, so if you sing in Macedonian, you know, how am I going to understand the great lyrics that you write, you know, unless it's translated? And we do that. We have a pandemic COVID recovery grant in Canada, as well as it's a Canadian company, as well as in Europe. So, you know, to me, mobility is really, you know, a focus of language also, if you're a songwriter and you want people to understand your songs. So thanks.
Thank you, Robert. Yeah, I was just commenting that this is resonating a lot with what we were also discussing before, like expanding from the language, but just doing from the artist side more in terms of gaining the audiences before actually going there. So it's like maybe Dina first. No. But yeah, I think this is what Robert pointed out from the language perspective. This is maybe what you can elaborate maybe with what I understood is yes. Your kind of vision, how to overcome the difficulties ahead from the artist and the artist representative side of things.
The engagement of the audiences by the lyrics, it's something very important in many acts. For instance, our most our most successful artist has her own language, so it doesn't mind. But other ones sing in English, sing in Portuguese, sing. If it's allowed for the audience, or prior, or in the concert to understand, is always an advantage, absolutely. And there's something that you probably should talk after and try to see, because it's something that instantaneous, the audiences could recognize something. That it's a deal. But I would like only to check briefly to end a few points. One is the technical details that you were discussing about. We have faced this, and we never put a band outside our country without a sound technician. It's like our safety. So we managed that, for instance, for 250 euros, you can get a rack mixer. And you can take a rack mixer, it's something like this. you can take it, you can prepare the session, you can go to a venue, plug, and you take 15 minutes to 20 to make a sound of a band. Because when you're touring outside, when you meet a Liveurope venue, it's a paradise. But you have a lot of venues that don't have these conditions. And to finish as well this, the music and the culture is really a massive destruction weapon against populism. It's really a weapon of integration. And this comes from the lyrics as well, but comes from understanding other cultures. So the role of Liveurope, these networks, and mainly the curators of the venues is essential. So we need, I agree completely, we need to complain against other institutions and we need to ask more. Because if European Union will be saved, culture will have a great part in it, and the share of the culture as well. So we are passing from an information society to an opinion society. And the paper and the role of the curators, it's essential on this. And I'm very optimistic about the new reality and the future of hitting the road to connect people.
Thank you.
Yeah, and I just want to add something, and I know where you get that from, because I listened to your panel yesterday, and I would love to discuss about it later. And yeah, of course, it's great if people could understand my lyrics, but at the same time, like traveling to places where my language is not understood, I saw that music is like it speaks even without understanding the words. I've seen the same looks on people's faces in places where they didn't understand anything. As I saw the same I see the same faces here and the same faces there, where they couldn't understand me, because for music, of course, my music is like, my lyrics are the most like in the front, and my voice, but still like the whole spirit of the music is also like I can deliver it even without someone understanding me. And of course, it's like I had one comment from one person that I remember, like I can talk all day how people can understand me, but at the end of the day, they can't understand me fully. Like I have one song, it's called Boy, and it's spelled B-O-I, which like in English, it can be like boy, but in Macedonian, boy means colors. So that's like a little lost in translation thing, because some people didn't understand what the song said. So there was one comment from one person, like he was like, Dina, I love the song, like everything about it, like it gave me goosebumps, but I have a problem with the name. And I'm like, no, it's not about a boy, it's colors. So yeah, that's an important part as well for an artist that sing in their native language.
Thank you, Dina. We are approaching an end. I think we can probably take another question or two, or comment if somebody has something. If not, anybody from our panelists wants to have sorry? We have, okay. Okay, please present.
Or login will come, yeah, I know.
Please present yourself.
Hello, my name is Lana. I come from Croatia. I'm from a label, but I also do booking. I have questions for Inês and maybe Elise. I'm wondering if it's not a business secret, the percentage of your bands, how many of them are outside Portugal? So how many bands do you book from all over the world? Because you have such great results. Do they come from your own bands or from artists abroad? And for Elise, also, do you have statistics do venues book emerging artists that have the same language or similar languages? So, okay, Dina went to Ljubljana, she went to Zagreb, we understand 90% of her language. The music is very similar. So, but do you have like the statistics on that matter? Is Dina going to Portugal? You know, they won't understand a thing there. So that's it.
I don't have the exact numbers. I can say that this year we booked 56 emergent artists for Liveurope, right? Well, a part of them was for Mil, but we can say that about 30 of the artists were booked at Music Box, so I would say that like 50% of our programmings are national and international from all over the world. I don't know the exact numbers. I just wanted to say something about language. Diversity is measured in many ways, and language is just a part of that. Music is about feeling as well, and it's important that we don't close this matter of diversity only in language, because it's only a part of it. And the importance of Liveurope is exactly that we look for diversity in more than one criteria. I think that's it in terms of my...
Yeah, and regarding statistics, yes, so your question was, do we have statistics on language diversity? Well, we haven't showed it on the slides, but we do have a statistics that show, I don't remember what's the precise figure, but that indeed we have a slight reduction of the domination of Anglo-Saxon repertoire thanks to Liveurope. So we're something that we ask from our members to let us know what's the language, is it, and so that's something that we do look into, and we have seen a slight reduction on that, so that's quite encouraging. But indeed it's, well, on the question of language, what we do see is that you know, we see there's a domination of the local and Anglo-Saxon repertoire, but there's also, like, typically for a venue, let's say in Belgium, it's going to be way easier to book an act from France, an act from the Netherlands. It's still something that happens, but that's something that we are trying to do at Liveurope, is that we try to limit the number of artists from the same nationalities our members booked, because indeed otherwise it would be too easy if we would support Šiška just booking Croatian acts. So it's something that we try to encourage through our venues to book acts from a greater diversity. So that's indeed something that we look into, because and then it's not just about linguistic, it's about geographical diversity, it's also about gender diversity. Like we try to encourage diversity in a broader sense. First of all, geographical diversity, I think, is one of the main things that is easy to track down as well, and that was at the very basis of Liveurope, like how to help venues go outside of their geographical comfort zone. So it's definitely something we look into. That's something that we try and tackle, and that we see like positive results as well. Now, there's plenty of success stories towards that. That I think we can see from the venue's perspective. Now it's a kind of a tropism of, I think, culturally speaking, but also to come back to what Hugo mentioned. One of our mission at Liveurope is also to say, okay, so how can we create a European culture through music and through the circulation of music? So that's really what we try to achieve.
Thank you, Elise. Thank you for questions. If anybody wants to know more about Liveurope, about present, future problems, solutions, we will be all around after we end it right now. So I'm just going to try to wrap up. what I think we discussed. So basically, with this year, it was kind of like optimistical, bringing back to life, to activity. We are still in this kind of optimistical, full action mode. There are some consequences from the crisis, which seems to be kind of like a past, but it's not really. There are, of course, troubles which are looming over the horizon and are there. We have to take them in consideration, but we will do what we do, and we are aware that the problems of the artists are the problems of the venues, and the problems of the venues are the problems of the artists, and all of the other people, organizations included in all this process going on. So we will all have to do more to, like Hugo was saying, invent more in order on the artist side, on the side of people working around their artists, on the side of the venues, in order to overcome these difficulties, and that the Jacques will be able to hit the road with full force. Thank you very much, all your panelists, and you for coming. See you.